right, Westworld, the penultimate episode. Isn't that the right term? And
Love that word.
great.
That came into my vocabulary, I think, with Breaking Bad. And I've used it just incessantly. I still don't totally know what it means. I don't think it's the one before the last, right?
Yeah, you don't get many chances to use it, so why not? I mean, you got to use it when there's an opportunity. This is one of those. The penultimate. Actually, you know what? We just did the penultimate episode of. Oh no, not yet. The penultimate episode of Star Wars Clone Wars is coming up. I'll have another chance to do it, like twice in 1 week. It's exciting. Westworld. Let's just get into it. What do we think about this episode? They revealed and explained a lot. This was a slower episode in points to let you know things that we needed to know about Caleb. It was time to learn about Caleb because they had to tie some things together before the finale.
So I like this episode. I think you get a little bit of explanation for Caleb, like you were saying, but you also get like the final like Terminator 2 fight, which is what we wanted. We wanted to see Terminator versus Terminator. We finally got that. I think we get some good dialogue throughout this entire episode, and I think the addition of now Solomon is good because I think that's more. We kind of wanted to hear that, right? Like the robotic explanation. We didn't want to hear this all coming secondhand from SERAC and all these other people. Hearing it direct from the source, I think, is kind of cool.
I'm out.
You're out.
It's here the beauty of Westworld, I think, or what they have for it is they almost guilt you into not saying it's not good because it's so cerebral and advanced that you feel like you'll reveal yourself as stupid if you say you're not enjoying it. But I'm out. I'm not enjoying it anymore. I feel like everything is falling flat. I do not feel like I'm invested enough in everything. I don't think it's been explained well enough why I should care about everything. And I think every writing reveal is like it ends with a rather than a whoa.
That was my problem with today's episode, and I've liked the season a lot. I actually felt like there was a reveal today that felt like a bit of a dud. It was cool.
Everything they do has a dud to it. There was I'm done. The show is still visually stunning. It's great. The acting is incredible. I keep forgetting the music guy's name, but music's great. There's a lot of stuff to like about the show. I'm done with the writers. I think the writers dropped the ball this season. I don't think it's very good. I don't think there's a lot of like we said, the reveals. And the glass shattering moment for me was Caleb explaining his time not in the Ukraine, which I thought we were gonna get a Laura episode.
Crimea, close enough.
He said we were at the Russian Civil War, but it was anything but civil. Like, shut up.
Okay. Okay, I want to note something here, in that this movie picks up basically rips plot points from Call of Duty, because that line, it's Civil War, nothing civil about it, is from the last Call of Duty. And also in the previous Call of Duties, there's a Russian Civil War. There's an orbiting missile system in Call of Duty Ghosts. They just they needed a conflict, and they're just like, let's just take everything from Call of Duty campaign mode, which, to be fair, no one really plays.
I didn't even know that, but it's even worse than if they're biting video game lines that aren't very good to begin with.
So here's my thing. I still like the season. I like the reveals. I didn't like the way it landed this episode, and we'll get into why. We'll get into kind of how it went down and how I agree with. So I haven't agreed with you, I think, completely in the last few episodes, because I felt like things hit for me, and I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. This, I was like, I really want to think I think that's cool, but I wanted to have a bigger reaction. And I hate comparing everything to the last HBO shows we just watched. We didn't. I'm not saying these are the last ones that came out, but Watchmen and Succession, which had a couple big reveals that really, like, they hit you. You're like, oh shit. You're like, wow, what? Where this, I've had a couple of moments this season, but I expected the Caleb thing to kind of grab me more emotionally, and it didn't. It didn't like I wanted it to. Cool. Which here's my thing. I can't say I'm out because I still enjoy what the reveal was, but I wish it had been a bigger moment. I wasn't as like.
Yeah, I'm being a little more provocative than I need to be. I'm not like, fuck this show sucks, but it's just not. I wouldn't recommend this season to someone anymore.
Interesting. Okay.
I wouldn't say you got to watch it.
Let's try to break down what happened and explain things as best as possible, because there were a lot of flashbacks. This is probably the least linear episode. Now they told it to you in a linear way, but it was a lot of flashbacks. There's a lot of piecing things together. We'll talk about other Dolores off the top, the other Dolores. We started out in Jakarta, and it was some sort of restaurant. It was Musashi. It was Musashi, Dolores, giving a briefcase to an associate, like, get this to, I have a friend you got to get this to. We don't know what that is. We assume that has to do with other Dolores, I'd imagine. The one we haven't learned yet, that last Berlin Dolores, we still don't know anything about that Dolores. Then he gets a call from what appears to be a very burned Charlotte Dolores, but it's recovering a little bit, which we know the host can recover pretty quickly. And she says that she's basically turned on the Dolores plan. She's like, look, like, other Dolores wants just to die as a part of the plan. I'm not up with that. I'm not fucking with that idea. Musashi is saying, well, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, I'm not into that idea. And then it turns out that Charlotte Dolores has leaked, I would imagine, to SERAC, given the heads up, or Maeve. It could have been SERAC or Maeve. It doesn't really matter. They're working together. That Musashi was there. And Clementine and Haniiro were both waiting. So that was one of the other pearls being redone from Shogun World. Haniiro was an old character from last season. And then we knew Clementine was one of the pearls being remade and brought back into a host. They're there and they fight with Musashi, cut Musashi in half. Kind of pretty cool move. The stab and then the spin around, just a guaranteed kill.
But before we got there, I mean, this was the ultimate stormtrooper aim. It's
yeah.
I mean,
with,
he was
with the machine gun, yeah.
They were staring at each other.
But he has the suitcase Glock, which makes it all up for me because I love a good suitcase Glock.
Always cool. I don't know if the suitcase Glock is harder to use. The suitcase Glock was pretty neat. I will say that.
It was cool until he had to fucking use it, and then it's like, what's the point of this gun if you can't shoot a woman 10 feet in front of you with it?
See, maybe it's because if you play more Call of Duty and maybe you have to be at the level of not being good like me, you'll know that hitting someone is not as easy as you'd think.
Very difficult.
That's my
He's
my
an assassin, Jeff.
No, I mean, we talked about last episode. I think Stormtrooper aim with this show, you just gotta go like it out the window.
That's my other issue with the show right now is, and there'll be more examples of this, I feel like, in the rest of the episode, but like, it's hard for me to get invested in people and in people's danger, in people's deaths, because nothing matters.
Yeah, no one has fully died except for Hector. That is true.
And I don't even know if I believe Hector's fully dead anymore.
True.
Because it's just like nothing matters. Bullets don't matter. We saw Charlotte got shot a bunch of times. I'm sorry, Clementine got shot a bunch of times.
Charlotte got blown up.
Well, I mean, that's an inherent problem with the show, though, is that when you build the show off something where people can be brought back, you have that issue.
Right. But it really started to hit in this episode when people are getting shot a lot. And it just doesn't really matter.
They kill Musashi, Dolores, but they take his upper half, his upper torso, his body and head, because they're going to take the pearl, and they're going to find a way to talk to that pearl. That's the last we see of them for this episode. We'll talk about the Man in White next, and then we'll move on to Caleb. Man in White, not a happy camper. He was injected with some sort of virus. We knew that already from the last episode. That was the tracking thing. Bernard's like, there's like a virus. There's a tracker in you. That was the thing that was pricked into his neck. He failed his re-education process, as we had seen. It did not go well for him. He like fucking bit someone's finger off and killed all of his other selves. And he was supposed to be dead. He was marked as dead. Bernard noted, like, you are supposed to be deceased. And we do end up learning what that means later on in the episode. Bernard notes that SERAC began reprogramming people because the people didn't fit his system, something that we also knew, but these characters are now finding it out. But they needed biometric data, and it turns out that biometric data came from a man in black at the time. He had sold it to SERAC because they needed capital funding for the park, and that was the best way to do it. And Bernard is kind of, again, he soapboxes a little bit, moral high grounds him. And then a line that I think is kind of important is Man in White says, like, you're not fucking Arnold, man. You're Bernard. You're a robot. But I do think that was a pointed comment, because I think the Bernard back to Arnold transformation, the morphing of the heads, and the pearl obviously being kind of a hybrid pearl is a bit important there. Man in White notes he's sick of hosts. He's like, I'm done with them. That's the only blemish I had, is I need to get rid of you fucking people. Like, get off. I'm going to kill all of you. The longer you keep me alive, the better chance I have of killing you. Which I believe he ends up doing. We see that in a tease, so I guess we'll see. Bernard tells Ashley that Caleb is actually the real issue here, which we'll get into in a minute with how they what Dolores told Caleb. Dolores told Caleb a pretty big lie. And this is towards the end of the episode. We're kind of going out of order here, obviously. Bernard tells Ashley that Dolores was made with a poetic sensibility, and she won't be the one to take over the world, and that she will have Caleb do it. She won't destroy humanity. He will. And we'll get to that here in 2 seconds because we're about to jump into Caleb and Dolores. And then at the end, the man in white does find a shotgun, and he points it at Bernard and Ashley, and he's ready to pop one of them off. I would imagine Ashley. Stubbs, I think he's sick of Stubbs. And he made sense. Stubbs is still up to something. I think Stubbs, we know, still could be a mole in this whole thing. I think there could be a bit of a twist there. Caleb and Dolores, though. They're in Sonora, Mexico. They're not in Westworld. That's where they end up going. We find out that big bag he had is a massive sniper. Just a gigantic sniper, and it has this cool thing with a drone, and the drone goes into a base and marks all the targets, and the sniper just automatically shoots and kills people. We got a couple questions about that. Speaking of Call of Duty, that would be a very cool weapon to have in any video game. She tells Caleb that her people are extinct. She's essentially extinct. We know that's not really true, and she's kind of lying to him, and she's kind of setting him up, right? She's kind of put him in a spot where he can enact and carry out a plan that she has. She's trying to make herself seem hopeless and like humanity is the only thing there is. We know she has a full ability to recreate people. She has the data. She has the fucking white goo. She has all that stuff. So she's kind of not telling the truth to Caleb a bit there. Again, she uses the drone to kill people and get into the base. And what they're going in there to do is they're going in there to see Solomon. We know Solomon was the original version of Rehoboam that was created by SERAC and what is it? Jamin, is that his name? Yamin?
No, it's dumb. SERAC's brother.
Yeah, SERAC 2. Let's go with the other SERAC. Basically, we knew this existed. This was the failed version or the first version of Rehoboam that wasn't exactly perfect in Rehoboam. And we know we can go into biblical things and Greek mythology and all that and about how Rehoboam took over Solomon, et cetera, et cetera. And they note that Solomon was there kind of just sitting there and not rotting, but kind of like just collecting dust at this point. But it is a very smart supercomputer that can do the same things that Rehoboam does, just an older version. We note there's a little bit of a tease. There's an EMP device, and many people have noted that Dolores kind of touches the back of her head because she kind of has an EMP as well, or the hosts have those EMPs as well in Westworld that can blow them up, kind of explode them, which is the case for anything with robots and clones and shit. Dolores and Caleb approach this SERAC hologram, who is there greeting his brother. It's a process where he's expecting that the next person to be in here would be if his brother and the rehabilitation, the reprogram, re-education system actually works. It is not. It's obviously actually Caleb and Dolores. And they go up and they talk to Solomon and they figure out SERAC's plan. They figure out the thing that happened, what went down, where everyone went, the re-education process, and about outliers. And they're surrounded by thousands of coffins of people frozen, like basically frozen on ice. They're iced over because they're outliers. They couldn't be fixed. And this is the only place to put them so they don't screw up humanity and mess up the world. And actually right in the center of it all is his brother. SERAC's brother, who he knew, fucked up brother. He had schizophrenia. He put him through the program. It didn't work. And he's put him on ice because he's trying to find a way to fix him. And the biometric data that Dolores has is kind of the secret to that. That's what he's going after. He's going after a way to try to bring his brother back, basically.
So Walt Disney and Han Solo in there too.
Right, yeah. Walt Disney's Frozen. Yeah, going to do some new classics. But Solomon says the world has been a better place since all of this. And this leads into Caleb figuring out who he is and what his story is. Caleb was a newer version of the re-education process. I believe a Class U is what they would say. And slowly but surely throughout the episode, we figure out what Caleb is, who he is, and why we've seen those flashbacks and what they really mean. He claims that he was in the military. He was hunting down Russian rebels, right? Insurgents, Russian rebels. We see these cool glasses that he's able to like mark these people. They're able to fire some fucking like rocket from space and just kill people on the dot.
That was the Call of Duty thing. That was the Odin, I think they called it in Call of Duty.
He believes that they were killed by taken down by Russians. And then after the war, him and Francis Kid Cudi went into kind of a new lifestyle. Something's fishy with that whole thing because there's a couple scenes and a couple moments in those flashbacks where it looks like it's very American and they're not actually in Russia, right? There's American flags, there's American license plates. I don't know if you noticed that, but there's something a little fishy with that whole thing. I'm not even sure that he was exactly initially attacked by Russians. Like I think it might have been, and I've seen this theory on the Westworld Reddit. There might have been like Americans who took him out, right? Not exactly Russians, or attempted to take him out because they weren't taken out, but some of their partners were, right? So later on in life, he's basically given a job to find and take out, at least he believes, these terrorists, right? These Russian insurgents. That's why we see the graffitis in Russian, all the writings in Russian. He captures this one guy who's kind of ahead of the insurgencies. He thinks that he's continuing on with the life after that bomb almost killed him and his team. So it turns out none of that is true. Not a Russian guy. That this was all taking place after he was honorably discharged from the military. Because when Caleb was almost dead. Whenever you get the blood coming out of your ears, you know you're almost dead. So it turns out that they were then re-educated. They were reprogrammed, like we've seen. They were outliers with the military, with SERAC's program, at the time, Solomon. And they were put through a process of going and finding other outliers. That was their job. Though they were taking these memory tabs, and they thought a ways after that this was actually them hunting down Russian insurgents, that they were continuing on with their military program. The RICO app that we saw, like the crime app, that was actually SERAC's app. That was them trying to figure out ways to go out and get outliers and setting up their outliers to find other outliers. So in this case, Caleb and Francis. So again, let's just recap real quick. He was in the military. He was attacked, him and his team, honorably discharged. 2 paths here. He went along a path, took these fucking memory tabs and whatever, and thought that it was just him continuing on the war. Really what happened was he was being re-educated. He was being kind of hypnotized for these fucking glasses. His program with Solomon and SERAC, and taking these tabs, which made him think he was doing that. And really, he was hunting down outliers to bring back to SERAC, to bring back and put them on ice and put them away so the world could be a better place. Again, all of the RICO app, all that shit, not real. Caleb was again re-educated and reconditioned to be thinking these things were happening when it was really something else. The man they captured is explaining this to them, like, look, you have no fucking idea. Like, I'm here. You've had to capture me because I asked too many questions about those little tabs, and now they want to take me out because I'm going to screw up the system. He knows that's why he's captured. It tells Caleb, like, look, you know too much now too. It's actually a guy who reps a pharmaceutical company who makes those like Listerine strips that give you these memory wipes. They kind of readjust your memory. You took off my duct tape. I've been telling you all this shit. Your partner's now going to get a notice to take you out because it's just one less person in the game. So they go outside. All this whole time, Caleb is learning this from Solomon in real time. He had thought that Francis was killed by the Russian insurgents who ambushed him. Not the case at all. Turns out he actually questioned Francis, like, look, did you just get a hit on me? I was just told by this bald guy that you were going to get a hit on me because I know too much. And actually, at the same time, he gets a hit on Francis, and he says, how much do they offer you? Francis, Kid Cudi, says, enough. Before he can do that, Caleb shoots and kills him. And then the bald guy's like, hey, you're rich now. And he's like, shut the fuck up, and he kills him too. So it turns out in the end, the big explainer is that none of this is actually some sort of old Russian insurgency or military thing at all. Caleb killed Francis out of necessity because Francis was about to kill him. And we see like graffiti changes from Russian to English. All this had been taking place actually in the United States. Kind of a big reveal. All of that from Caleb being having an altered past, which we kind of figured would be the case. We know that Dempsey Jr. was like, hey, you did this. Like, he actually killed his friend. Like, that's the case. All these people put on ice. This is the reveal I was talking about. Very cool. Like, I like the concept. But it didn't just hit for me. I was kind of like, huh, okay. And that is not, I don't think that's really what they wanted. They didn't want to, okay, I got it. They wanted like an, oh, shit reaction. And that's where, like, I don't know how to make it better, but it just fell a little flat there.
I think our investment with Francis wasn't enough. I don't know that we had we heard the name Francis a lot, but I don't think we really saw him enough to really care about him.
I think that part of this problem is that I think on a whole, we're supposed to like not be given enough information to this point where like we kind of saw bits and pieces of this coming, only because like the re-education stuff we already saw. Like this was explained to us like 2-3 episodes ago. I think if we weren't given all of that, all of this would have been way more shocking and surprising. But we already had like, I think like more or less like 95% of this story figured out, and they just gave us like the last 5%, and that 5% was not nearly satisfying enough. But enough for me personally to keep going and wanting to watch.
It wasn't even so much a reveal as it was a confirmation.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But it felt like it was supposed to feel like a reveal. But
because all along we thought it was cool. Like I'm not gonna have like hindsight and go back to like it's not cool anymore. It's cool. I like the concept. It's neat that they manipulated him and they found a way for him to think that he was doing something he really wasn't with these tabs. Because like, oh, it suppresses your memory, it helps you out, PTSD, all this stuff after the war. It's neat, but again, we've kind of figured it out, so it's not as insane. Where like the Dolores thing, when we found out they were all Dolores, that was cool because you didn't really have a guess. They gave you a lot of hints in different directions where no matter who it was, it would make sense. Like that was a neat real this. I think you're right. It was just we knew kind of. You're like, yeah, we know there's this facility. We know all this stuff already.
That's my problem too. Is kind of what you said there, where it's my issues aren't with the concepts. The concepts of the idea, the outline of this season. If you showed it to me, I'd be like, that's fucking awesome. And then it just seems like it's better in theory than practice. Everything just. I
think you're right. I think just we learned too much early on. We'll leave Caleb there for now. So that's where Caleb is. Caleb's with Solomon. Just figure out his fucking past. Again, one last time to recap. Caleb thought he was on a different core, thought he was living these memories. He was really being re-educated, reconditioned. And what he was doing was he was taking out other outliers. He thought he was in Russia, all that shit. They really fucked his brain up and they manipulated him really badly. He killed Francis. He killed Kid Cudi, all that shit. He's been doing work for SERAC and Solomon. He just didn't realize it. So we'll leave him there because we're going to get to him in a second. Very important. Dolores versus Maeve. This is kind of the last thing we're going to talk about here. Maeve arrived in Mexico while Dolores and Caleb were talking to Solomon and figuring things out. And she knows she needs to go. Dolores admits like she may kill me. But this may be it for me right now. And she says, you need to help figure out Jean-Mi's final plan here. Which I think I called it Jiman. It's definitely Jean-Mi. I don't know why I said that was. It's really not that hard to pronounce. I really bungled that one earlier. She says, like, look, you need to figure out this last plan that Solomon had because clearly there was a point and there was something in place where Jean-Mi was going to go see SERAC's hologram and he was going to figure things out and be re-educated and fixed. And so there is a plan there. And Solomon's plan's a little older because Solomon was an older machine. And so she's like, Caleb, I need you to figure out what this final thing is and get this to me so I'm able to help carry out what I need to do, right? What I need to do for my plan. So Caleb is there with like a little thumb drive on the machine and figuring things out, which by the way, somebody noted on the Westworld Reddit when they were looking over that machine and stuff, user S3R4C, that Caleb was actually born on Groundhog's Day. Yeah. That's kind of cool. That's kind of neat. That's a little nod.
That was I've cracked the whip on the Reddit a lot. I did like the line when she was saying that, Maeve will probably kill her, and Solomon goes, if you die, I'll recalibrate my whatever. And she just shoots back. Fair enough. I was that was
another great moment in that is when Dolores is talking to Solomon. She's like, I'm just like you. And he's like, no, you're Delos. Like, it's like Apple versus PC shit.
Your shit
I'm better than you.
No, ironically, they needed Delos.
Yeah, true.
So Maeve arrives. Dolores is gone. Caleb's figuring all that shit out. A lot of the stuff we just talked about, Caleb, was happening during all this, trying to figure out the best way to explain what happened. They kind of discuss the same views again. They had, they have the same vision. It's like, why are you aligned with these people? Maeve is kind of going back and forth, like don't put your beliefs in mine. They're not the same thing. Also, I've seen the question too, like, why is Maeve like this? Maeve's also kind of in a tough spot. Not that I'm supporting Maeve. Like, I'd rather support Dolores in this situation. But if Maeve doesn't obey what SERAC's going to do, SERAC's just going to pull the fucking plug on her. Like, she really doesn't have much to go on here. It's kind of just do what SERAC says or I'm kaput. I'm going to be put in, like, computer, like, purgatory, basically. They have a bit of a kitchen fight, a samurai sword kitchen fight, and a couple stabs here and there, and then Dolores runs away. And when she goes outside, there's like a quadcopter, which sick. Yeah, very cool. And I love that the subtitles actually say like quadcopter, like shoots gun or something. I like that. That's pretty neat. Which, by the way, classic example of subtitles potentially ruining things for people. Not that it was a big deal. We knew it was Clementine, but Clementine started speaking before they showed her, and it said Clementine on the screen. I was like, that would be kind of a bummer to like see that way. But that's, I guess.
Why did subtitles still best? Maeve brought a fucking gunship with her, but didn't bring a gun. Why a sword?
She's poetic with her sword now.
Coming off the thing like fucking Deathstroke. Like, bring a pistol.
So Dolores has to run away from this quadcopter because it is shooting some fucking heavy ammo at her. She hides in a bit of this like hut in the middle so she can kind of conceal herself, and also tries to draw Maeve in because she's found a way for her drone and her sniper to try and shoot Maeve. So they're Dolores traps Maeve in there, and Dolores is also trapped in there. She's going to get shot by the gunship. They fight outside, very small knife, big samurai sword. They take some blows to each other, but then finally Dolores gets knocked out into the open, and that gunship blows her entire arm off. No question. It's not like she kind of gets nicked there and it falls off, just boom, gone. And then Dolores has to run away. She crawls inside, and she crawls up to that EMP failsafe. She knew it was there, and it's not what she wants to do, but she has to hit that EMP button, and it fries everything on the inside. It knocks everything out. It shuts down Solomon, shuts down Dolores, and Maeve sees her do it, and Maeve kind of falls just before she can maybe get one kill to Dolores. But it was not before Caleb was able to receive the new calibration, the recalibration from Solomon, Jean-Mi's final plan, and then he comes across Dolores' body, and the episode ends, and he has that final plan. What is that final plan? That's kind of the big question here.
I mean, it is a little interesting that Caleb still needs Solomon. Like Caleb, the Mr. Anti-AI, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
He's still just following.
Well, she set up this whole idea that and I've seen some theories about this, like what she's trying to make this a problem that humanity solves. And she's there to facilitate it, but she's putting humans in control a bit here, even through like the course of life, because she lied to Caleb to set it up.
Yeah,
Well,
the putting of the humans in control. It's definitely that last scene between the EMP and the man in white with the shotgun. It did feel like to me the like Brady to Amendola on fourth down, which was like the 28-3 comeback. Like that was when you see the screenshot of 28-3, the next play is a fourth down play. I believe it's to Amendola on the left side. And that was like all right, something might be happening here. That was the humans' fourth down conversion.
It was a big moment.
We got a little something cooking here.
Yeah, I wanted to note that the fight between Dolores and Maeve was awesome. Only in that I always love when robots fight and like they stab each other and they don't emotionally react to like getting stabbed or shot or whatever. That is always really cool to me. But also when Dolores gets her arm shot off, this reminded me very specifically of a movie, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, called the Jackal with Bruce Willis. Do you remember when she gets her arm shot off? He shoots Jack Black's arm off with that big ass gun. That is also a remote controlled gun. This like literally almost beat for beat the same gun that Dolores has.
Art imitates art.
I'm
not sure they imitated the Jackal, but yeah.
I looked up the movie. I looked up the movie scene this morning after I saw that part. He shoots off the exact section of arm, like only up to this part of the elbow of Jack Black in this scene with the exact same remote control gun. It's incredible.
I do like that's how it ended, though, because I think you're right with the robot fight. Sometimes it's like, well, they've stabbed each other 100 times, and it was one less. Because and I will say the way that all the robots were taken down, or all the hosts were taken down, were good host kills. Like Musashi, cutting Musashi in half, that's a great way to do it. Like that because it leaves no doubt. Like, okay, yeah, there's a Pearl, and the Pearl's alive, but Musashi can't move anymore. And that's the same with Dolores. Like, the only way to really end that fight is for someone to lose a fucking limb and really be out of, like a bunch of stabs wasn't going to do it. So I did like that. I thought the fight was one of the better fights we've seen this season.
See, I thought it wasn't bad, but also, they kind of got screwed having that I've just watched in Extraction, because that has unbelievable fights.
That's true, yeah.
I thought there were parts of it where it was like, I don't even know how to describe it. Where it almost like in the action, in the car chase scene, where it was like these cars aren't even going very fast. It felt like a lot of it was like, you could tell it was choreography rather than a fight. Right.
Questions, comments, theories. A bunch of people noted this one, but I'll give Insider.com credit because that's the one I read it on first. William's patient ID, his patient ID or his gamer tag, his serial number is the same as Caleb's. Him and Caleb have the same ID. What that means, I don't know. I've seen some theories that maybe that was like modified by Stubbs because Stubbs was controlling all of it. And I think a lot of people are very skeptical of Stubbs. I think Stubbs is the bad dude. I think William's going to kill Stubbs. I think William's going to be like, this guy's not good. I'm okay with you, Bernard Arnold. I'm not okay with this guy. And he didn't really like, when he found out that Stubbs was a host, he was kind of taken aback. Are you fucking kidding me?
Stubbs is useless. I mean, the guy has a bum arm. He can't really do much anyway.
So again, patient ID, same as Caleb's ID. So that's interesting, something to know, which I believe there's got to be a Caleb Man in Black connection there, Man in White, because they're both the humans in this situation. At E. Heisler says, who is Dolores' ally in Berlin? Is this who Musashi wants? I assume yes. I don't know who it is, though. I assume it's whoever Caleb is in, like, the preview for the next week. He's over this, like, this robot exoskeleton type thing, putting on, like, Dolores' skin. I would imagine that is that's in Berlin. Like that's the other Dolores. I don't know though. I imagine the pearls in the briefcase. That's my guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have much more than that though. I don't know if you guys do. I don't really have an educated guess. At least it's a little bit. Hey, a little mystery there. We don't have a guess now, unlike the Caleb story, which we felt like we kind of figured out.
Very heavily telegraphed. Yeah.
This is a ridiculous Twitter name at AY0IZJL0. I mean,
that's a porn comment.
Did you make this just to fuck with me? He said, this is what you said, John, in the beginning. I'll let you take this one. So they skipped the reveal of Dolores being a robot to Caleb.
Yeah. I mean, there were multiple times where we said it at the sex party that when she said, I forget what her exact line was, but it was like, my world is different from your world, or I'm from a different world, whatever it was, should have put off, alarm bells in his head. And then her getting shot, he kind of just looked at. And then even like in today, when this is, I think, the first time we see him witness her explicitly saying, I am not a human being. And it does a similar camera shot where it just looks at his face and he looks a little different. Like he's got some kind of inquisitive face, but there's never any real reaction. It's kind of like he's just rolling with it, where there should be some form of confrontation where he
I'll give you something here, and I'll give you devil's advocate as well. I think I think it's fair to say his reaction in that scene when she was shot could have been stronger, and I'll give you that much. But I wouldn't have loved an on the nose like, you're a robot. Yes, I'm a host.
What are you?
I'm from Westworld, because I don't like over explaining, but I will agree. I do think that you could have made his reaction, his facial reaction, more noticeable, that yes, this is the moment he's realizing it. Right. I can say, can you agree with that? Like, I feel like that's fair.
I'm with you. If it was a straightforward, let's sit down and let's hash this out. Let's go see, a therapist and do some couples therapy. That would be a little ridiculous, but you had to give me a little bit more than nothing, than a quick, like,
I can agree with that. And then user on Reddit, Daxel Kurt said, lots of parallels between SERAC and Dolores and Ford. And I just want to read this quick. I thought this was a really good post in the Westworld Reddit. Broke down the episode about Rehoboam controlling narratives. Rather than a new narrative for Caleb, Dolores is making him aware of the narrative that Rehoboam has created for him. And so his kind of conclusion is SERAC is like Ford before season 1, creating narratives for individuals whether they like it or not. And Dolores is like Ford during season 1, making the individuals aware of their narratives, knowing that this will lead them to rebel, which means in the end, in this episode, Dolores took Caleb to Solomon's lair. She was doing for him exactly what Ford did for her by installing the different mindsets and different outcomes. Sure. I like that. I think that's a good parallel. I think that's, and I would assume that's not one of those cool fan theories where you're like, yeah, that's awesome, but I don't think they're doing that. I would imagine that's the case. I think that's probably what they're going for here.
Yeah.
The parallel.
That seems like almost too on the nose for it not to be related.
Yeah. And then I think next week, final thoughts. It's the finale. It looks very action-packed.
Well, here's my question.
Okay.
The EMP, did that kill everyone or did that wake everyone up?
Should fry all your circuitry, right? Oh, you mean the frozen people?
They're no longer frozen? I mean all the outliers.
That's a good question. I think it would kill them, no?
I would think I would think you would kill them.
I don't know if it would immediately kill them, but it will turn off those machines. You've got to turn that shit back on.
Right, but are those machines keeping them sedated, or are they keeping them alive?
Do you want to hear my explanation that you may not love? They may have like some sort of like backup, like power plan. I assume if you have
backup generator.
Yeah, if you have some, though, maybe, I don't know. It's a good question.
I think it would be cool if they all woke up and that's what the chaos we see in the preview is. It's like
that's the new army.
The outliers.
I could see that. That'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
It's a good question. Yeah, I can see it kind of makes sense they'd be woken up, actually.
I don't know what the sign.
All the doors open.
Behind one of the others, they all wake up and are like, guess what? Time for the rooster to just become.
Well,
the phrase I'm going with here.
I don't know how well versed you are in the 1998 Lost in Space movie with Matt LeBlanc, but when the power fries in the ship, they all wake up from.
This in 3 days, 3 weeks. Sorry, what did you say though?
They all wake when the power fries. They all wake up from carbon sleeping. So
I feel like you need to be gentle. You feel like you have to be gently woken up from hyper sleep. I feel like you can't just like turn the power off and be like, oh, I'm awake now. I feel like you just die.
Yeah, you have carbon sickness like Han has in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. next week finale again, action packed. Caleb has a new version of Dolores. We see showdown with SERAC and Caleb. We see a Charlotte hologram. There are a lot of holograms. Man in White definitely shoots someone. I'm thinking it's Stubbs. It doesn't make sense to shoot Bernard at all. Stubbs seems very killable right now. And then he also says he's going to save the fucking world. Very bloody. A bunch of people hooked up to Rehoboam and Solomon, and they're all hooked up to machines. And then Dolores and Maeve have a bit of a showdown. You're out, but at least you're out with one episode left. You're not out with like 6.
And look, I'm excited about the finale. It's sometimes when you're doing a show, you got to go a little harder. But there are a lot of disappointments.
Well, it's funny. This is kind of reversed. We were doing Clone Wars as well, and for context, Clone Wars, we were like, this is not what we were hoping. And now Clone Wars, they just dropped the fucking Star Wars movie. They dropped a 4-part Star Wars movie, and people are like, this is one of the greatest things of all time in Star Wars. And it's kind of the reverse where, like, this episode, we were like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I love it.
Yes, definitely reverse. But I feel like they have the opportunity now where maybe they could have even been faking us out. Like this pseudo reveal or more confirmation, like you were saying, fights could almost be to disarm us. And then the finale could be something even crazier, right?
Don't put to bed the idea that a lot of this was playing out in SERAC's simulations.
True.
Don't put to bed.
That'll be a hard out. If this is all,
No.
If I've been complaining that nothing's real, and that's the problem with the show, and it turns out this whole season wasn't real.
Yup. Hard out.
If that happens, I want a 5-tweet threat at HBO. Just at HBO, you just yelling at them.
I mean, we have nothing better to watch in quarantine. I want a refund on the hours I spent on Westworld, if that's the case.
Oh my God. That's it. Make sure to comment below any theories you have for the finale. Just give us a theory for the finale. What do you think the big reveal is? What's going to be the big twist? There's going to be one big thing, at least one thing. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button and the bell icon. That's way we drop these episodes. Finale next Monday. I don't know what's going to happen. We got this. We got Clone Wars finale. One of these is going to come out first. Probably this. That's it. For KenJac Fights, I'm Jeff Lowe. We'll talk to you later.